All right, folks, today we are doing some community service here on Yammie Noob. We hear you in the comments section, we see you, we hear you saying, Yammie, I wanna go fast, I wanna do 186 miles per hour, I wanna do hood rat stuff with my friends. And so today, we have all of these Street Squid approved motorcycles here in the shop that we're gonna be looking at to help you determine what motorcycle is right for you to do wheelies, jump on the highway with, and have a ton of fun with your friends in a Street Squid manner. We're gonna look at 4 cylinders, 3 cylinders, maybe even 2 cylinders as well. We're gonna try to help you guys determine what motorcycle is gonna be best for you for all your street squidding duties. Today's video is proudly supported by EUROCYCLE. We're gonna tell you a little bit more about them later in the video. Let's get started. Alrighty folks, today we are talking Street Squid motorcycles. We are super pumped to bring this one to you. Spike, let's wheel in our first Street Squid bike. Dude, what?
This is fun that you
get the real, no, get the real Street Squid bike.
All right.
Now we're talking. This is what the people want to see.
There's your Street Squid motorcycle. Feeling better now?
Absolutely. All right, guys, today we're going to run through everything you need to know about how to street squid the right way. Let's get into it. Alrighty, folks, we have 5 categories we are looking at today for your Street Squid motorcycle. They are ergonomics, power and power delivery, price, insurance, and the ability to be a daily rider. So for each of our motorcycles today, we're gonna be looking at those 5 categories. Starting us off today is our smallest displacement bike, the puny little ZX6 compared to the big bad bikes we'll be looking at later.
So outgunned.
So outgunned, but people truly do go to bat. They go to the mat for the 600 class, and there's a great reason for that. If you are looking at this as a Street Squid motorcycle, they actually make a pretty good case for themselves. The ergonomics are quite borked like many other super sport motorcycles, despite if you want to swing a leg over that thing really quick and let the people know.
Yeah, this thing is aggressive. When I was doing my daily with it, I could stand about 2 hours on this motorcycle before I had to get off and take a little bit of a rest because you're in an aggressive stance on this bike. It's not as bad as I've seen, but it's pretty borderline on this motorcycle, got to admit.
Yeah, this is a very track-oriented motorcycle, meaning that the bars are way down low, the pegs are way up high. However, many of you in the comments will let us know that if you just go and do 300 crunches every day, you can ride one of these for thousands of miles at a time. Is that the best way to do motorcycling? I don't know. That's up to you. You're the Street Squid, not me, right? So next up, we're talking power and power delivery on the ZX6 over here. This thing makes 127 horsepower and 52 foot-pounds of torque.
Yep, which is actually pretty good for a 600. A lot of those numbers end up being like in the mid to low 110s, and then in like the mid 40s for torque. So as far as daily ability and street ability of this power delivery, it's very livable. I think that this is, if you're looking for a 600, if you are a 600 boy at heart, you know in your heart of hearts that this is the bike you need. This is the one that has the best street package just because it actually does have those extra few cubes. It gives you more torque in the mid-range, and it really does help. I mean, you're still going to scream it all the way up to the top end because this is 600, but you've got something going on between then and, you know, closed throttle.
Yeah, we do need to remind you that those power figures, 127 horsepower, happens at 16,000 RPM, so you're gonna have to really wring it out to get some juice out of it. Now, next up is a one that not many people want to talk about, is insurance. Now, the ZX6, if you're 18 to 21 years old and you're trying to get a 600, I'll tell you what, there's probably so many data points that these have been binned up, wadded up, yard sailed, and crashed all over the country. So I guarantee you, your insurance rates, you're not gonna like what you're gonna see on this motorcycle, right?
Yeah, this thing, it's probably not as bad as some of the numbers out there that you're going to see. However, this is going to be pretty shell-shocking when you get that number back.
Yes.
Definitely gonna be in the 4 figures, for sure.
For sure.
The question is just, is it $1,000 or is it like $4,000?
Yeah, and guys, don't just run liability insurance. Use your noggin. Not a good idea there. Now, this motorcycle, however, price of entry for this, pretty good. You can score ZX6s for like 6 to 8 grand all day. I mean, I think we picked this one up for 8 grand just about. And this is a really nice example of one.
And brand new, they're pretty cheap too. You can get into the ZX6 for 10 grand flat as an MSRP without ABS. A little bit more for ABS, but you know, if it's your track day toy, you might not want that ABS.
No. Street Squid.
Street Squid.
Street Squid. Nobody goes to the track on the YouTube comments. We are street squidding today. That's it.
So maybe you just want to use your rear brake to do some big skiddies. I don't know.
Now, the final point of the ZX6 we're talking today is the daily ability of this motorcycle. You made a whole video talking about if you can daily the ZX6, and I think if you don't know any better, if you are a street squid, I was a street squid for a long time. I rode my Daytona for like 25,000 miles for like 2 years. I did it, I've been there. I got the t-shirt, did the whole thing. You can do it. It's not great, but you can do it. It's perfectly fine, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's an adequate way to spend a day. It's probably a really thrilling way to get onto the highway because you get to bang your way through a couple of gears, zing it off the red line. It makes a whole bunch of noise. Lights go on the dash, and then you look down and you're only doing just a little over 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You know, on some other bikes we're going to talk about today, you can't really do that.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for something that is going to just get your blood pumping on the way to the office, this is pretty good, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Let's move on to our next motorcycle. Moving on up from puny 600s, we have this Honda Hornet 919 here. This is your stand-in classic standard 4-cylinder naked bike thing. This is the only bike we had in the shop, so we kind of figured we'd use it for it. So what are the power delivery specs on this bike?
So this one is hotly contested because it's this bike in particular and I have a lot of deep lore knowledge. But getting the point, 108 horsepower and 67 foot-pounds of torque. I'm gonna tell you right now, it is not making both of those at the wheel. No,
definitely not. This bike is much more docile, much more tame than something like the ZX6, despite it having a much larger engine. This thing comes with a plus-size 900cc engine, a 919cc to be exact, and that's gonna give you better around-town torque. You're not gonna be zinging this thing to 16,000 RPM. In fact, I don't think you're gonna get even close to 10,000 on this, if I remember correctly.
Stops at around 9,000 RPM.
Yeah, so you're 7,000 RPM short of where the ZX6 was. So it's much less exciting, but much more tractable for the daily ride. Yep. And the ergonomics, much more comfortable, right?
Yeah, so throwing a leg over this motorcycle, you're gonna see immediately how much more upright this motorcycle is. This in particular is even more standard than standards of today.
Yes.
This is just like sit ramrod upright and look ahead and just be super duper comfortable. Seats wide, bars are high, and pegs are low.
Yeah.
Super amenable ergonomics for a daily ride.
Yeah. And in this category, you've got stuff like the FZ6, the old Bandits as well. I mean, Japan printed out a lot of motorcycles in this kind of style of the standard naked bike thing, and you can still get a lot of street squitting done on something like this motorcycle. You don't need a super hopped up super sport for this thing. And the best part about that is the insurance rate's gonna be a lot cheaper for this.
Yes, because this motorcycle doesn't have, look, a bunch of old guys own these bikes nowadays, and old guys don't crash their motorcycles, which drives down your insurance premiums. So you're going to be able to get this motorcycle and insure it for a lot less money than something that has fairings, and it almost is down to the fact that it just doesn't have fairings.
Yeah, that's almost literally exactly what it is. Insurance companies, for whatever reason, probably due to the data they have, view fully faired motorcycles as much more higher risk. They're gonna be crashed, they're gonna be binned, they're gonna be wadded up, and bikes like this just don't get that much happening to them. Now, this bike makes a very strong case as a daily rider over the ZX6, over the other bikes we're gonna look at today. Probably the nicest bike to daily ride. Power delivery is nice and smooth on it, really nice and comfortable to ride, nice comfy seat, nice wide seat as well. If it were me, this would probably be my street squid bike.
But can you squid on it hard enough is the question. And I think that you really can. You can get a lot of wheelie action out of this motorcycle if you like. It's got enough torque that it'll lift the front end. It can really boogie with some modern rubber on it. You can get quite a nice lean angle. And I mean, it does have fully adjustable suspension.
But it can't do 186 miles per hour on the highway.
No, it can't. Its top speed is, this is the only bike in here that won't do 186 miles an hour.
Yeah, every other bike in here, 186 miles per hour, actually on the nose, which is weird. I didn't even know that, but every single bike does 186 miles per hour except this one because it doesn't have fairings.
Yeah.
So very sad. Let's move on to the next bike. All right, folks, if you truly want a street squid, we personally think that you should accept no substitute and get yourself a mid-2000s leader bike. The K6 Gixxer is, in our opinion, the finest example of how you can street squid, right, Spike?
Yeah, I feel like this video is now finally getting started.
Yes.
We finally have a street squid appropriate motorcycle.
Bike.
You can stretch it, you can chrome it, you can put some NOS on it. This is your street squid build right here.
Yeah. We do want to impart on you guys that if you're going to go out and street squid, this is is a ridiculously fast motorcycle. This is probably a really bad idea as a first bike. This has no traction control, no ABS. These are really fast. This is probably best reserved as a third motorcycle in our opinion. But let's talk a little bit about the power and power delivery on this thing, right? Big honkin' stonkin' 998cc or 999cc engine, putting down, what is that, 178 horsepower?
Yep, it's fast.
83 foot-pounds of torque, 82, 84, something like that. And redline's at about 14,500 RPM. The reason that people like these as street motorcycles over 600s is because they like the kind of mid-range punch that they have. This bike, any gear, any time, gonna pull like an animal, right?
Yeah. There's no wrong gear on a liter bike. That's the beauty of having so much torque out of such a big engine.
Yeah.
But the thing is you do have to rev this thing out to get to that full 175 horsepower. This can be, you might get on it and you're like, well, you know, it's still, where's all my power? I was like, this liter bike's gonna change my mind. And then you hold onto it and let it rev out, and then you're like, oh no, stop.
I'm going into space. Yeah, it's very, very aggressive in the way it makes its power, but are the ergonomics as aggressive, would you say?
Oh yeah.
Swing a leg.
So this thing, it's probably not as bad as the 600, which is kind of a little odd, but it is still pretty aggressive all in all.
Yeah.
We still have low clip-ons, we still have high pegs, and you gotta push your butt back in the seat so you can get all in the pocket and stuff. Although, because we have this dark windscreen, it's like, Jesus, take the handlebars.
Yeah, you can't see a goddamn thing out of that thing. When you're looking at ergonomics between a 600 and a 1000, in our opinion, you're really splitting hairs. They're all pretty similar.
Yeah.
You know, only in very recent years, stuff like the Honda Fireblade has just become so extreme that it's borderline unrideable for longer than 30 or 45 minutes at a time. Insurance on these bikes is something we have to talk about. We talk about all the other ones. You are going to pay an exorbitant amount of money for insurance for this thing if you're properly covered, right? I mean, it's like thousands of dollars per month, possibly, depending on how old you are and your driving record and those sorts of things. I've seen quotes for these for other folks on our Discord server, $6,000 a year for this thing.
Yeah.
Because these are the bikes that people wad up in spectacular fashion. You know, like usually fatality on a bike fashion, which is not something we like to talk about here on the channel, but this is a bike that can and will kill you if you're not careful with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, the splatter factor is high
Yeah.
on a 1000. I think the big issue with these motorcycles is people override them and then they don't trust the brakes.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, it doesn't have ABS. I can't just grab on, you know, I can't load up that front end. And you really can on this motorcycle, but
Yeah.
it's gonna scare the crap out of you the first couple of times you really wind this motorcycle out.
Yeah, especially on a twisty, corner to corner, you're gonna pick up so much speed in between those that you're probably not gonna be prepared for it. So very, very, very fast motorcycle. Looking also as well as the daily ability of this bike. If you're gonna be street squidding, this is your daily bike. I know a lot of people will put on big miles on the Gixxer 1000, but for me, it's still like a 600. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could do it.
Do you take cocaine with your cereal? That's the question. If you
Yeah.
do, yeah, sure, why not? But for a normal person, I would just recommend the 600. The ZX6, a lot more fun because you can actually wind out a couple of gears.
Yeah, this is an extreme, extreme motorcycle, but we are just approaching the crest of extreme here on Yammie Noob. Our next couple bikes, even more extreme. All right, folks, this next motorcycle is actually pretty special because it was one of our previous giveaway bikes. We actually just wrapped up the giveaway for this, and we purchased it from EUROCYCLE, as we mentioned in the beginning of the video. They're the proud sponsor of today's video. We've had a ton of fun and good times buying bikes from them and giving them away as well. Hit the link down below to rideeurocycle.com. Get yourself a motorcycle over from there. It's a really simple process. Anywhere you live in the nation, they can ship the bike to you. You simply enter in your information, you'll get some emails back and forth, fill out some paperwork, and the bike shows up delivered to your doors. How we've had a lot of our bikes delivered and shown up here, and it's been a great time. So hit the link down below, get yourself a motorcycle from EUROCYCLE. We actually got this motorcycle and our next motorcycle from them as well. But let's talk about this Aprilia Tuono. If you're a European street squid, you're probably on this motorcycle, right, Spike? I think this is the Euro street bike squid.
I think that if you're looking for the Italian flair, there is nothing better. I do believe that there is a very vocal contingent of Super Duke people, though.
Yes,
who
yes.
Would like to be recognized.
Yes.
But this is our stand-in for crazy Italian, you know, hyperbike.
Yeah. So hyper naked motorcycles like this, as opposed to your classic Gixxer 1000s, ZX6s, this is kind of like having your cake and eating it too. This motorcycle is deadly fast, killer fast. In fact, it dusted up on a Turbo Busa, famously so in a video, right? I think 0 to 130, 140, this bike is basically untouchable. It's making 175 horsepower, 92 foot-pounds of torque out of its 1077cc V4 engine that just makes the most amazing sound. And the best part is, when you swing a leg over it, it's comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, compared to the Super Sports that we've been sitting on before,
oh my God,
this thing is a lot more amenable. It is worth pointing out that the peg height is the exact same as an RSV4. So your lower half is all Super Sport, but your top half is like, yeah, I could do this for a while.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a weird mix on this motorcycle. It's not quite the perfect street setup, but it's pretty damn good.
Yeah, and this motorcycle makes all of its power basically in the bottom and mid-range. It's tuned to be a street bike as opposed to its super sport variant, the RSV4. So that means that from low down in the revs, this thing pulls like an absolute animal. This thing is aggressive and fast and crazy. But I think from an insurance perspective, still gonna be pretty pricey, this bike.
Yes, so these bikes, they do see some accidents. However, a lot of these motorcycles are ridden by older guys who, you know, keep it in 1, 2, and 3. They're not going super duper fast, not a ton of anything other than speeding tickets on them. So in terms of this versus a Gixxer Thau, I would wager that this is actually going to be just a hair cheaper, which is ironic when you consider that on the street is probably a lot faster than the Gixxer.
Yeah, definitely. Now, in terms of it being cheaper on the insurance, one way you're not gonna save, unfortunately, is the price of entry. We talked about how the ZX6 you get in for cheap, the K6 and the Hornet as well. Those are all of the people bikes. You can get in for them for under $8,000. A motorcycle like this is gonna be upwards of $15,000. Even in its base trim, brand new, even lightly used, you're looking at probably over $12,000 to $13,000 to buy a motorcycle like this. Do you need something with electronic suspension, 175 horsepower, and every technology you can throw at it? Probably not, but it is pretty nice.
It's a big old flex, man.
Big old flex,
You show up to a bike night with, you know, a bunch of wires sticking out of your down tubes. I mean, people are gonna look at it and be like, well, you clearly make a lot of money.
Yeah, this is, for me, it's the thinking man's Squid bike. You know, it's a little bit more normal. You can daily it a little bit better. This is a motorcycle that if you put a little, you know, Nelson rig bag in the back or something like that, you could probably get away with riding this bike to and from work.
It has a touring mode.
It has a touring mode, so clearly you can tour with it. That's obvious, right? But this is a very thinly veiled super bike. But if you're looking at being a street squid, don't skip the hyper naked category, because it basically is everything you could want. But what if you want something between a hyper naked and a super sport, and you want even more displacement? Well, we might have the next bike for you. Let's say you're a squid with a boatload of cash and you have high discerning tastes and you could not be caught dead on a K6 Gixxer Thau. Well, there's a brand new crop of kind of like neo-retro naked bikes, but not naked bikes, super fancy sport bikes that you can buy. The MV Agusta Super Veloce, and now this new Triumph Speed Triple 1200 RR. This thing is quite special.
Yeah, standing next to this thing, it just looking down at all the premium features, I can see the carbon fiber fairing stays in there.
Yeah.
I can see the tube steel frame that they didn't need to shape like tube steel because it's actually aluminum. There's a lot of delicate touches on this motorcycle, and it really does feel like a statement piece.
Yeah, so if you want a street squid, but you want the ultimate, and you also don't want really any compromises, some of these new neo-retro bikes could be your ticket as well. This is a bike that's not gonna get you, you know, in trouble with the law as much. People aren't gonna be looking at you thinking, oh my God, look at this crotch rocket, this dummy, look at this guy. In fact, I took this thing out for a ride and it caught a lot of attention because it's just so striking looking, because it looks so different. So as delicate and beautiful as it looks, the engine on this thing is nothing like that. It's an 1160cc triple doing 177 horsepower and 92 foot-pounds of torque. You can absolutely do some squidding on this motorcycle.
Oh yeah, I mean, that is some serious torque out of this thing.
Yeah, very powerful motor on this thing.
It's nice that it has so much technology, because That's like loop your bike amount of power right there.
Yes. But the ergonomics on it, Spite, if you'll swing a leg over for us.
Yes. So the ergonomics on this are actually strikingly similar to the Tuono. We have a little bit more forward lean because these are slightly raised clip-ons. But one thing that is interesting is the tank shape is very different on this motorcycle. Doesn't feel like it's encouraging you to get in the pocket. It's just encouraging you to ride kind of like a normal person whose brain hasn't fallen out of their head.
Yeah, like a gentleman, a normal person. You notice the windshield isn't super elevated, the tank isn't super low, so it's kind of telling you to maybe ride it like a normal human being, but still have some fun and goose it, because it does say speed to triple 1200 double R on it. Now, in terms of price, like I said, you're gonna have to bring a boatload of cash to buy this thing. It's about $21,000 for one of these. And all these really fancy, cool, neo-retro bikes are just, they're hella money, you know what I mean? They're hella money. Your MV Agustas, these things, because I know the kind of people who are gonna buy them, you know? But that also informs your price to insure it as well. Insurance companies don't really have a lot of data points on these things yet. I think they're just really gonna look at the size of the engine and kind of give you like a thumb in the wind for it. I don't think it's gonna be as much as a K6 Gixxer, honestly.
So your insurance companies don't have a lot of data points on this for crashes and so forth, so it might bring your price down, but then because it's so speculative, it might come up too. So hard to say. It is a very expensive motorcycle, so you're probably gonna have a lien on it. That doesn't help.
Yeah.
So you're probably gonna be paying a little bit, but if you're buying it, you probably got the cash.
Probably got the cash, hopefully. Now, as a daily motorcycle, if I may just simp publicly.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, it's so good! You can get along with this thing all day long, man. This is the sport bike for the thinking gentleman. What a great motorcycle, great looking package. You could absolutely ride this thing around every day. I love it, I love it.
Yeah, I could see this being a bike that you take to the office and you park next to your like boss's Porsche or something like that and be like, no, f you, I'm better.
Absolutely. What a flex this would be to park anywhere, especially a bike night or something like that. Man, just park that, back it up into a spot, everyone would come and ogle it. This would be quite a street squid motorcycle. But again, I think less of a street squid, more of a gentleman, but still very squidly. However, Spite, let's say you've lost all your marbles. Let's say you want to just go whole hog. You want the ultimate street squid motorcycle. I think we all know what that one is.
Do you need me to wheel in the Turbo Busa?
We need to talk about the Turbo Busa. All right, folks, we here at Yammie Noob feel that if you want to be a street squid and money is no object, your personal safety is no object, and your own tacky tastes are no object, there's only one bike. It's a Turbo Hayabusa.
Yeah.
Now, the reason we say that this is the ultimate street squid bike is because if you're doing massive highway pulls, the street squid thing, why wouldn't you have a turbocharged 1300cc engine doing 270 wheel horsepower? This, we feel, is the ultimate zenith apex predator of street squid motorcycles, right?
There is nothing like rolling on this thing on the highway and just watching cars turn into just long streaks of color as you go past them. You will pass a car going 100 miles an hour like it's standing still.
Yeah. Yeah, you can be next to a car that's doing 90 and you start accelerating. It looks like they have like started hitting the brakes as you accelerate so hard. Now, price of entry on these, very, very variable, right? It depends on how you're doing it, what you're doing. Ours here, I've spent about $21,000 setting this thing up from start to finish, so it's as expensive as the Speed Triple, which makes me cry a little bit to how expensive this bike has been. On
Craigslist, they're like 13,000 bucks, like that?
13,000 bucks. You can get yourself a Turbo Hayabusa on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. Now, talking through this motorcycle a little bit, we mentioned the power delivery. To be honest, without making this much of a meme, I do think you can ride this bike around.
Yes.
Shockingly, you can. Yeah.
As long as you keep it below 6,000 RPM, it's really docile.
Yeah.
The power delivery, it's kind of shocking, honestly.
Yep.
Totally easy power to live with. Again, below 6,000. Once you get above 6,000, you best hold the f on.
Yeah, you better be planning your braking distances once you're at there. But the cool thing about this too is the ergonomics, right?
Yeah. Okay. So.
It's lowered, so...
Of all the bikes in here, this rivals the Hornet for being the most comfortable, which is really sort of just borked. The pegs are nice and low, the seats wide and flat and comfy.
Yep.
The bars are nice and high. You could get with this motorcycle on the daily.
You could, yeah.
It's getting what, like 34 miles to gallon, so it's basically an economy car?
Oh God, no, it's getting like 10. With the size of the injectors are on this thing? No, this thing, I mean, I have to fill this thing up every time I ride it, basically, which isn't very often nowadays. One big thing we need to talk about here is insuring your Turbo Hayabusa if you're a street squid. My mind tends to think that if you have a Turbo Hayabusa, you're probably not running any insurance on it, to be honest, but if you do have insurance on it, you may have to disclose to the fact that you've highly modified your motorcycle and turbocharged it. Have I done that? Well, the jury's out there. We're not going to confirm nor deny if I've disclosed to my insurance company whether or not this motorcycle is turbocharged. But yeah, this is a bike that I think you'd have a hard time insuring.
Yeah, the thing about this is you may not see them wadded up all the time because the people who do this run them at like midnight and stuff, but goddamn, it's fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you hit something, you're going to turn into goo.
Yeah. You'll probably turn into just dust, you know? There may not be much left of you to collect. Now, as a daily motorcycle, your daily street squid bike, it makes kind of a strong case, honestly.
It's really high.
Yeah, honestly, like you could daily this motorcycle. There are many other factors you're gonna have to deal with, right? Reliability being one of them, constantly tinkering and fixing things as I have to do with this thing. If you own a Turbo Hayabusa, you have to understand that you are now taking care of an elderly citizen, basically. You now have an anchor attached to your leg. You have something you need to go back to and care for every day, basically. You are the keeper of a Turbo Hayabusa.
I walk into the shop and I just see him delicately polishing this motorcycle.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah, just whispering sweet nothings into its dump pipe.
Yep. Yeah, we actually sometimes, Spide will get the Hornet and I'll get the Turbo Busa. We put them nose to nose and make them kiss, which is really cute. We do that here at the shop. But let's wrap this video up and come to a general conclusion about what makes a great street squid motorcycle. All right, folks, wrapping the video up here, we're gonna now try to pick our preferred street squid weapon. Spite, out of these 6 bikes we looked at today, you have to pick one street squid bike to rule them all.
Man,
what would you pick?
They're all so good, dude.
They are good, yeah.
Each one is really good at what it does.
Yeah.
But if it's me and I want one street squid motorcycle to rule them all, Turbo Busa.
Damn, really?
It's dailyable.
Uh-huh.
It's fast.
It's really fast.
It's a Busa, which is cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, no one can touch it. You literally cannot touch that motorcycle.
No, you can't. I get where you're coming from, but I don't know. I think for me, if I had to pick just one bike, just one street squid motorcycle, I'm personally torn between the ZX6 and the Triumph. I feel like they're two ends of the spectrum, right? Like this is that really beautiful, gentlemanly sport bike thing. The ZX6 is just like classic 600 energy, and for me as well, I love going to the track, even though we have said that we are street squid only.
Yep.
I mean, I rode a 600 for like 2 years and put tens of thousands of miles on them. I like them, you know?
Yeah, it is worth pointing out, guys, while I do love the Turbo Busa for what it is, I would also probably choose, if I'm not gonna go stupid, I would probably choose the ZX6.
Yeah.
Even though my heart is drawn towards the 919, there are some times when you ring this thing out and you're like, oh, that's it?
Yeah.
So it's gentlemanly, it's got this great quality about it, but if you want to go out and like get your blood pumping,
Yeah.
and you don't want to, you know, go to prison, this is pretty good. This is a really great option.
Yeah, I think the ZX6 is usable, it's fun, it's a great motorcycle, parts are plentiful. It'd probably be the one I'd pick. It's also cheap. You could get like 3 of those for the price of one of these, so.
So are we validating all those 600 boys out there who are like, I daily my 600 every day?
No. Bad. We will never validate you. Never.
And there you have it.
That's it. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Catch you next time. See you later. Keep watching Yammie Noob!